And hello, and welcome to Magical Journey. I'm your host, Daniel Cahoon. And before we get started tonight, first of all, let me just say, I'm doing a whole new thing with the audio and so forth. So that's going to be a little bit getting used to because there's some stuff with that that's kind of like mind blowing to me. And then I'm also going to be doing something else tonight that I have not done before on the show, which is showing you guys some photos that are related to the topic tonight. Um, I am not going to tell you guys a whole lot about the topic, but I will tell you that when I get ready to introduce my guest, you guys are going to love her. She's amazing. Um, I'm gonna let her talk about, uh, where she's at, what we're gonna talk about, and all that kinda good stuff, and introduce us tonight to that in a minute, but here we go with something. I want you guys to do me a favor. After the show's over with, I want you to go to magicaljourney.com and bookmark that site because it is the place where you're gonna find all things Magical Journey, and it is an evolving site, so as I get ready to enter into next year, the year of the final rebranding. Um, that site's going to be evolving more over the next few months. So get on there, get used to it, check it out, keep up with the updates. One of the things you're going to find on there, and I'm going to start promoting more heavily, is my Patreon site. I know it is not for everybody, but it is a great way to be able to get supplemental information on what I'm talking about on these episodes. It's also a really great way to be able to support the cause because believe me, this slow venture is not cheap. Um, so there's a double meaning behind joining the the Patreon. It is literally like right now I have it at like the paid tier is 550 right now. Um yes, and Mike, hey, how are you doing tonight, dude? I gotta get you on here soon too. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to an amazing guest. You don't know how I've been waiting all week for this. She is a boots on the ground researcher in some of the most notorious places in the area. And she's an amazing person, just a very sweet soul. It's amazing to see somebody like this who's willing to go out in the snakes and other things to be able to hunt for the answers. And I am talking about no one other than the one and the only Anna Caywood Jones. Hey,
Hi.
did I just butcher your middle name?
No, you didn't. You said
Okay,
it just right. Kwood. That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
I practice that all the time because there's a tendency for me to want to say it wrong for some reason. I want to add
Yeah.
letters. I want to add letters. Okay, so Anna, as if you need any introduction, tell people about who you are, what you're doing, and we'll get into the where you are in a bit.
Okay.
Uh, and then tell us a little bit about your YouTube channels as well.
Okay. My name is Anna, and I have had paranormal experiences from a very young age. I was really young, like 2, 3 years old, when paranormal experiences started happening to me. And I grew up as a kid in the 70s and a teen in the 80s. During that time, there wasn't the TV shows that are shown now. and you were told to keep your mouth shut. People didn't believe you. You were crazy. You know, you didn't talk about the paranormal stuff during those times. It wasn't until, like, I'm going to say the early 2000s, more people started talking about this, and then more shows started coming out. And all this time, I was searching for answers for what was happening to me. And I'm also a Christian, and I didn't understand some of the stuff that was going on. So it's been a lifelong search for me to understand the things that were happening to me personally, in our home, and with my family. And I think at this point in the journey in my life, I have figured out. I'm hearing noises over here to my to my left. So I have figured out some of those things. And I haven't had a whole lot of the cryptid experiences until 2022. But in my opinion, I think it's all all the same thing. It's all connected. And we just had patrol go by, and that happens here all the time. So if they turn around and come back, we might have to go to the hotel. Just letting you know. But that happens a lot here. Out of the blue, you're in the middle of nowhere, they show up.
Wow. So tell us where you're at right now.
Right now, behind me is the gate that leads down to the alleged 1982 massacre site of the Dogman that so many people talk about.
Mm,
These are the
wow.
gates. Usually they're locked, don't have a lock on them now. In front of me, there is a cemetery, and it's about an eighth of a mile, I'd say, back. And between, I'm going to say it was in 23, a huge tree fell on the trail back here. So you
Mm,
have to go up over this huge tree to get back in there. But that's where what some people call the bunkers. I've
mhm.
been back in there multiple times. So we're out here in the LBL, and it's going to be getting dark soon. And we just had forest rangers go by. So, and I've already heard something over here to my left. But I have walked this trail multiple times back there to the bunkers.
Wow. Um, before we get too much farther, let's promote those YouTube channels as well.
Okay. Well, if you like gardening, you can follow my Jonestead Farm YouTube channel. I do a lot of my own gardening, canning, raising as much food for ourselves as we can. And my other one, because I wanted to keep them separate, is Cryptid Kentucky. And that's where I do a lot of the investigations or places that I visit. Any evidence that I find, I try to make videos. Keep in mind that out at my home, we live out in the country, and we don't have internet out there. So everything that I do, all the editing that I do is through my phone. So it's not grade A, but you get to see some of the things that are going on and where I'm going.
Wow. Um, I got to tell you, I'm low key jealous of the fact that you live out there in that area. Uh, minus the snakes.
Yeah, I know. We walked back through here a little bit earlier because I wanted to see how well the reception was, and I was watching for the snakes.
Mhm. Yeah, give me Bigfoot any day over a snake. So let me ask you this: what really, like, how did you get started with being like a boots on the ground and like researcher?
I had always wanted to do paranormal research. That was where it started for me. But because I feel like I am an empath, I always held back from joining a paranormal group because I was always afraid that I would get attachments and I would bring stuff home with me. So it always held me off because I was scared of that. I'd
Mhm.
had so many paranormal experiences in my past, and I had been able to get things, pretty calm. And I thought, what if I join a group, get out there, and I just start bringing things home with me? How am I going to react to that? Is that the right thing for me to do? You know, so I kind of just did my own thing, by myself for a while. But in 2022, a friend of mine, we come down here to the LBL to camp, and it was August of 2022, and that was the same weekend as the Dogman conference in Paris, Tennessee, which is at the other end of LBL because it runs through Kentucky down into Tennessee. And my friend Barton Nunley was going to be there, and I've known him for quite a while, and he hardly ever would do conferences or anything like that. And I was like, oh, he's finally doing a conference, so I'll get to go see him. And it wasn't too far away from me. And lo and behold, it was a crazy weekend as far as what we were hearing, what we were seeing, the evidence that we got. It was a very crazy weekend. We camped at Boswell Landing, and it is a primitive camping area. You have a gravel pad, you have a fire ring, and you have a picnic table. That's it. There's no electric, there's no lights out there, there's nothing like that. So you need to bring everything you need with you. So it was very primitive. And my friend, she had all of the camping gear. So, excuse me, she pitched a tent, and I stayed in the back of the Jeep, kind of car camping. And we didn't expect anything, you know. She'd been camping a lot. We get down there, and it was a crazy weekend. Things happened down there in Boswell. We were terrified. I can tell you that. We were absolutely terrified for 2 nights. We stayed there Friday night and we stayed Saturday night. We didn't sleep hardly at all. We were seeing orbs, different colored orbs. I saw what I can only explain is the silhouette of a Bigfoot. It was in the shape of a Bigfoot, but it was totally black. And when it gets night out here in LBL, it is so dark. It is so dark. But that thing showed up darker than the darkness. And I was sitting on a picnic table, and it was in front of me, facing me. And I was seeing it. And because of the paranormal experiences that I had had in the past, I wasn't seeing fur, I wasn't seeing eyes, but I was seeing that coned head, the large shoulders, long arms, and then about below the waist, it just kind of faded into the darkness. And I thought that was odd, but that's what I was seeing. So I thought if I give it attention, it's going to give it strength. That's how I have always felt about the paranormal. It will feed on your fear. I said, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. And then I started doubting myself because it didn't move. But when my friend walked from the cemetery, she had a headlamp on, and she started coming across that road to our campsite. This thing turned its head towards her, and it looked like it was taking a step towards her. And when it moved like that, I about had a heart attack. And then her headlamp swept around to where that thing was standing. There was nothing there.
Oh, no. Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of, people talk about these things all the time, and
Yeah.
the way they just kind of like come in and go out, and some of the other paranormal behavior that they have.
Yes. Because we were seeing orbs before that happened. Red ones in the cemetery and then white ones in the woods, because Boswell Landing is out in the middle of nowhere, but it has a lot of Civil War history right around it. Yeah, there's a fort, a Civil War fort. There's a Civil War graveyard just, up the road from it. So there's a lot of history there, a lot of bloodshed down there. And it also has the Dogman Trail that is in Martin Grove's second book. I believe it's his second one, the Dogman Trail.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of books, so it's hard for me to remember which one. Oh my goodness.
And you may hear traffic because this trail is close to the Trace. And the Trace is the one road, 2-lane road, that runs 40 miles through the LBL. And that's the only way you get on these little roads in here, and it's called the Trace. So you may hear some traffic because it's not that far away from the 2-lane road. back here.
Okay, so you're talking about the trace in not
The
Natchez
LBL.
Trace. Okay. I had
Mm-hmm.
to I was like, "Okay, wait a minute. It's not just trace go through there?" But no, it's not that. It's a different trace.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the main road that goes down through LBL.
Right. Now that you said that, I know what you're talking about, but when here in where I live at in Murfreesboro, if somebody says the trace, they're talking about not just trace because it's not that far away. So
Okay.
I always like the first time I heard you guys talking about the trace, I was like, not the trace that I know, right?
Yeah, it's just the main 2-lane road that runs through the middle of the peninsula that's between Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake. Just a 2-lane road. It doesn't even have any emergency lanes in it. Just a 2-lane. It gets kind of windy in areas,
Mhm.
but it runs the length of the peninsula down here.
Oh, wow. Now, you have a special connection to the story of the 1980 alleged
Yeah.
story of the 1982 massacre. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I was friends with Jan Thompson. We met online back in the early 2000s. She had her story originally on a website called Guardian Tales.
Mhm,
And that is where I read her story originally. And we got in touch with each other. And it wasn't too long after that, she was in touch with Bart. And her story that she told, the retelling of what the officers told her that night, is in Bart's first book called Mysterious Kentucky. It's also on his Inhumanoids channel, and he reads that story on his Inhumanoids channel by Jan because he knew Jan pretty well too. Um, I was actually supposed to meet up with Jan in October of 2007 to
mm,
come down here, and she was going to take me around to all the places down through here. And I had to cancel that because my husband's sister passed away that week, and I never did like get back with Jan to do that trip again, and I so regret it. I so regret not doing that with her. But we had many, many talks. She was one of the people that helped me understand the paranormal that was going on with me. Also, Bart, he always through the years, any questions I ever had, he was always a mentor to me as well as Jan. Jan was a member of a paranormal group, and she did a lot of paranormal investigations in the LBL area and the Hopkinsville area and Grand Rivers. So she had a website. If you go to the Internet Archives, you can
mhm.
find her website. I can't think of the name of it right now, but I can send it to you later. And it has a lot of her investigations on there, pictures that she had taken from her paranormal investigations. Yeah, it's Friday night on the trace.
Right?
But yeah, she did a lot of that. And so she had a lot of her own experiences with the paranormal as well as things happening inside of LBL. So do I believe her? Yeah, I believe what happened. You know, this was not her experience. She was retelling what was told to her. And
Mhm.
she always said that she could not 100% verify this, but she believed the officers that had come in that night to the store and told her what had gone on. And there's just too many, because I don't believe in coincidences.
Mhm.
There's just too many things that can line up. And I think it was hidden. That's why you can't find, like, go in and try to find like police reports and stuff like that. Jan even told me that the bunkers that are down here could possibly have been used to hunt that thing after it had killed the family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, one of those down there to me looks like it's a water cistern. I've seen a lot of cisterns before in my life, and one of them down there kind of looks like a cistern to me. The other one, I don't know what it is. Um, the entrance is facing the hill. why would you put an entrance facing a tall hill? I
Mhm.
don't get that. I wish I could walk you guys down there and show you, but I don't think the reception gets worse the further back you get. And there's
Right.
other, buildings back in here. You can see there's a just a staircase, just a staircase just sitting in the middle of the woods back here. And
Mhm.
there's other concrete block where you can see that something was back in here. So it's a really interesting place.
I I know that, Jesse and Joel, Doyle has given us some video of the location before in their
Yeah.
investigations, and it's shown, like, the concrete pads and,
Yep.
parts of pavement, and it's just stuff that doesn't I mean, you
Yeah.
just don't find out in the wild.
Yeah.
So, they've definitely, they've proven time and time again, not only Hellbent Holler, but some other uh, research groups have shown video. I think
Yeah.
it hasn't Barton also shown the video before of some of the stuff out that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. There's so
And when
many
you go
people.
back this way,
Mhm.
if you've ever been a camper before or had a travel camper, there are a couple of roundabouts back in here, like for a campground. Do I know for sure that there was a campground back here? I'm not certain, but there are roundabouts. There's
Wow,
2 back here.
wow. Hey, Dizzy, welcome to the channel. I know you were going to jump in at some point, so I'm glad you're here. Um, so here's one of the things I want to camp on for a second about this. Like,
Mhm.
so many people were saying that because of the style that the reaccount was given in and so forth,
Mhm.
that um, they felt like it was possibly not completely accurate or maybe embellished or whatever. But you
Yeah.
said that she had been a paranormal investigator, probably had written reports in the
Mhm.
past.
Yeah.
So she was used to communicating online
Yes.
and so forth with people. So maybe that was part of the reason why the style was kind of writer type.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. I mean, she was good at communicating. I mean, she was like that when we would email and text back and forth. She wrote that way.
Mhm.
I still have some of her email messages to me that I saved, and she was just a very poetic, detail-oriented writer, even in just a simple email.
Wow. And see, this is one of the reasons why it's really important for us to look at all of the evidence
Yeah,
when it
all
comes
of
to
it.
this stuff. All of
Yeah,
it. That means even the mundane stuff.
yeah,
Like, how was this person, what type of personality did they have? How was
yeah,
their, what was their skill sets? All
mhm,
kinds of things. Because time and time again, her retelling of the story has been attacked over and over again
yeah,
because it's the only tangible thing that we have.
it is, yeah,
And even, I'm going to say this, guys, because we all know this, it's even been refuted by someone who claimed to be there that night.
yeah, yeah.
You
And he has his right to his opinion, in
Mhm,
all of this carrying on that happens with the paranormal.
mhm.
It's, you know, he has a right
It
to tell his version of what he feels like happened or could have
Mhm.
happened to him.
Right, right. Again, what I'll say about that is I think it's important that we all do the research and come
Yes.
up with our own opinion
Yeah.
on, which version is right, which one is wrong, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, um, I know there are people that will flat out say, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
You know, I
And
don't believe this version. I won't. Yeah.
I think it's on Gabby and Elijah's channel, Cryptid Studies Institute. I think they did like a very detailed look at this trail down here. And I think
Mhm.
they've even got maps that they did, if I'm remembering correctly, about how this could have been set up as a camping area. Now, if it's a camping area back in here, it was a smaller one, but the road does go on down through here to the lake, to Lake Barkley. But it's very overgrown now. But they did a very good study of this area, if anybody wants to look at that. And they did have comments left in there about people that were going to high school at the time and heard that story while they were going to high school.
Right. That's one of the things
Mhm.
that's really important to take note of too, is it was high schools in Kentucky, I believe,
Mhm.
that I read about, that were the kids were talking about this,
Yeah.
in the halls, during before class and so forth. So I think that's a very important thing that, I mean, granted, high school, we talked about a lot of weird stuff that may or may not have happened.
Yeah.
Uh, the fact that this story was being spoken of publicly
Mhm.
at that
Yeah.
time period
Yeah.
kind of lends a little bit of an eyebrow raise at least, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I'm not gonna sit there and tell you guys this is 100% what happened. I don't know for a fact,
Yeah. And
right?
I don't know for a fact.
Right. But we do know that there is evidence
Mhm.
to back up the claim.
Yeah.
You know, take it for what it's worth. Do your
Right.
research. Do the
Yeah.
research. Um, Anna, so let's talk for a little bit about let's bring it back to present day a little bit. What are some of the things that you have personally experienced at the LBL, like even recently, that you can talk about that gives credence to some of the legends?
Yeah. I know Small Town Monsters was out here and they interviewed Gabby.
Mhm.
I'm hearing stuff behind me, y'all. It's starting to get dark and I'm hearing stuff back here. Could be just animals. But Gabby was interviewed about seeing the dog man run across the road in front of her one night in May of 23. Um, I was actually in a car in front of them. So it kind of ran between us. Now, there was a 10-minute span of time between that. And this was in May of 23. So it's 2 years ago that that happened.
Mhm.
And we had a crazy experience ourselves that night. I can't explain to you how weird that night was in the LBL. Um, I have a short interview in Greg Ogle's film, uh, The Land Between the Lakes, Cryptic Expeditions. And that was just a very small taste of what happened to us that night when we went out to investigate. When we left the campsite that night, it was probably around 11 p.m. And we headed out. I was in a car with Letitia and Michelle. And then War was in his truck with Gabby and Elijah. And they were behind us. And it was just our two cars. We went out to do some investigating. And as we're going down the trace, which is the middle of the peninsula here, we looked up and the moon was bright orange, almost red. It was illuminating the clouds around it. And we gasped. We all gasped at the color of this moon. It was just neon. It was beautiful. And I even took some pictures with my cell phone, and it just doesn't do it justice. It just doesn't pick up the moon very well with a cell phone camera. Um, so we head on down the trace. The amount of deer that was out along the trace that night was insane. I live in the country. I grew up in the country. I'm used to seeing deer on the side of the road. The amount of deer out that night was unbelievable. We saw hundreds. I'm not kidding you, hundreds of deer that night. And we did go all the way down to Boswell Landing. So being able to see that many deer at once is because we drove all the way down to Boswell, and it's about a 45-minute drive from the beginning of the trace at Grand Rivers. So we were seeing all these deer. We saw bats. We saw an owl. I think we saw like 2 owls. We saw armadillos because there's armadillos down here. And why were all these animals coming out? There was a beaver in the road. We had to swerve to miss a beaver. And then
Wow.
Warren and them behind us, they stopped their truck and Elijah got out and filmed it. It was just sitting in the middle of the road. The amount of animals we saw that night. But it felt like they were being flushed out of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
It was like everything was being pushed out of those woods. So we went to Boswell. We got out there and we investigated a little bit down there. I was taking pictures. None of them would turn out. It was like a white cloud. Every single picture I took down there in Boswell. Can't explain it. Don't know why I did it. No, my finger wasn't over the lens. But yeah, I kept taking pictures and showing Letitia, and she's like, "Why are your pictures not showing up?" And she took a couple. Mine wouldn't show up that night. It was like something did not want anything to be shown. So we investigated down there a little bit and we left. War and Elijah and Gabby, they went into Dover, which was the opposite direction, to get gas and to get a drink. And we went back up the trace towards the north end where we were camping. And on our way back, we saw something on the side of the road beside a guardrail that had red eyes, laser red eyes. And it was like it was looking right at us. It wanted us to see it, like it was trying to make a connection with us. That's the way it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
And these eyes were really, honestly, like 2 lasers. And then suddenly this thing unfurled wings, and they looked exactly like bat wings. Did not have any feathers on it at all. It looked like bat wings. And it twisted. It did not flap its wings at all. It just twisted and it was gone. And we were like, what did we just see? What was that? So we were trying to figure out, are there any bats in the LBL that would look like that? But we couldn't find anything online. We got back to camp and we were telling our friends that had stayed at camp what we had seen. And I know Krista from Blondes and Booze, she was trying to look up animals, in the LBL or legends of certain things and Letitia dubbed it the mini Mothman because it's kind of what it looked like with those red eyes. It was just small. The wingspan was about 3 feet and it wasn't real tall like what you would think mini Mothman. And we were telling them about the moon. Everybody back at camp, we were telling them what the moon looked like. And they said, what are y'all talking about? It's just a white moon, just a regular white moon. Everybody back at camp just saw a regular white moon. But us in the cars that were driving down the trace, it was bright orange, almost red.
Wow.
And then a few minutes later, they pulled up and Gabby gets out and she says, we just saw the Dogman. We're like, what is going on tonight? It was one of the craziest nights. It was honestly like we had driven into or slipped into another veil or something. It was crazy.
It would be interesting if you guys would do you keep a journal of these things?
I do.
So send me the date that happened if you can.
Okay. Yeah.
The day, date, and year.
Okay.
Because it would be very interesting to see.
It was a full moon weekend.
Right. And that's one of the things that it'd be very interesting to see what's going on astrologically and so forth at that point.
Yeah, that would be interesting. The night that I saw that outline of what I can only say is like Bigfoot. It was a full moon that weekend, and we were also having a meteor shower that night. It was the August meteor shower.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, my
Wow.
most recent, um, I found a print at Boswell Landing in October of 24. We went down there for a group camp, and it's beautiful at Boswell, but it's very scary at night. But I was curious because of what I had experienced there before and went walking because there was a cemetery. I think it's the Campbell Cemetery, I think. Is it Campbell Cemetery? Yeah, I think it's Campbell Cemetery that's up there. It's a
Mhm.
small one. And I was walking with a friend and we saw this stuff. She saw it first, all twisted around this tree. It was different kinds of branches from different types of trees, and it was twisted around a small tree. So we stopped to look at that, and I thought, yeah, so I started looking for prints, and I found one, and I got a picture of it. And then Letitia found another one that was a little further back down in like a gully. I have a video of that on my Cryptid Kentucky channel, and that's my most recent finding here in LBL. And
Mhm.
also that same camp out in October, because there was a large group of us there. We were around the fire by the bay. And I can only say that what we heard was not a wolf, but it was canine. It was so loud. The lung capacity, the chest capacity this thing had to have, and I've heard it before in here 2 other times. I've heard this. But it's not your typical sized wolf. This thing has got to have a large lung capacity to be able to howl the way this thing howled. If you ever heard a wolf howl, even on TV or whatever, this sounds different. It's powerful. And we heard that night. Had a couple people sit beside me. That thing sounded off. They jumped up. And it usually follows with coyotes howling after that. Very,
Wow.
very often, it'll right before or inside the coyote howling. So
Mm.
whenever we're out investigating and we start hearing the coyotes, we stop to listen because that happens so often. I don't know if they're trying to call with them or disguise, because they can't really disguise the way that sounds. Mm-mm. But when the coyotes start, we start listening ourselves. It always
Wow.
correlates. For some reason, it correlates.
Wow. So that's something that I have not heard people talk about till
Mm-hmm.
now. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things, though, that's really important to note here is that the description you just gave about the sound itself, like,
Mm-hmm.
that was a pretty graphic description. And if you go back and you reference, Martin Groves, Daryl Denton, a lot of the people who
Mm-hmm.
we all are familiar with, and
Mm-hmm.
some of their descriptions, you'll notice that people are giving the same sorts of detail in their
Yeah.
own words,
Yeah.
and
Martin
that's
was with us in October
yeah,
when we were down there.
yeah. It's very important to understand that, like, just like when people give reaccounts of something and they
Mm-hmm.
never veer from the structure of the story, it's the
Yeah.
same way with multiple accounts of things. When you hear the same thing over and over and over from multiple people,
Yeah.
there's a good chance that one of two things are happening: mass hysteria, or they're
Mm.
recounting a truthful experience. Okay. It's getting dark quick there.
Can you see it? Getting dark back here? Yeah. You can
It's
feel
getting
it.
dark quick.
You can feel it getting dark. Or I can right now. I feel it.
Like, the sun was out a minute ago and boom, you can tell already like how quick
Mhm.
it's that's just creepy itself.
And here I am out in it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand how like everything that I know about that place, like I don't mind remote viewing that area,
Mhm.
but personally, I don't know that I could go any farther in than the entranceway to that area.
I can tell you that me feeling like I'm an empath when I'm in here, it feels very sad. And when you look at its history,
Mhm,
where over 800 people lived in here, had homes, they had businesses, they had schools, the farming in here, the farms were ancestral homes. I mean, generations, and it was all taken from them. It was all
mhm,
taken. I
mhm,
mean, I've heard horror stories about how these people were removed
mhm,
from their homes and their livelihoods here. And the place feels sad to me.
mhm,
It feels sad and sometimes angry. Feels angry in here. There's over 270 cemeteries in here along the 40 miles of the trace.
mhm,
270. And I don't think that they got everybody when they flooded because they're in Birmingham during the winter when the water pool is lower. You can see tombstones coming up.
mhm,
And they promised the families that everybody would be relocated so they could still come visit their families. And they didn't do that.
nope, nope, they did not.
Yeah.
One of the photos that I've seen, of the what you're talking about, the graves that are underwater most of the time, uh, I remember looking at one of them, the one that everybody sees, like, first thing when you, uh, do a Google search on the LBL,
Mhm.
and a very clear voice I heard crying.
Oh,
Um, so I'm particularly, a little
mhm.
bit on the defensive about what the government did to those people
Yeah.
in that area. Um,
It's heartbreaking.
it is, it is. I mean, they took they had these people go to a meeting,
Mhm.
um, and while they were there, some of them were getting their houses bulldozed and burned. So let's talk about Southern hospitality for a minute, with the people that were there. So, yes, there's a lot of sadness there. There's a lot of
Oh, we've
a
got
lot of
the forest rangers are stopping and backing up. They
okay,
might want us to leave. Yeah, they might tell us to leave.
they may, yeah, it's
Yeah,
possible. Um,
yeah, it's
Hey, I
happening.
got a question for y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all seen a lady or like a old silver Ford pickup truck come through here?
Um, I don't think I've seen a silver pickup. We saw like a little red car go down
Yeah, I
this way.
talked to them.
Okay.
Yeah, red car and a truck and camper on down. That's on it.
Okay.
No, we're looking for a missing lady.
Oh my gosh. It's a silver pickup truck,
Yeah,
you said?
but she shouldn't be driving it at the point like here north there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we need like your number or something?
If y'all see her, I don't think she would come down this way, but you never know. Just call 911 and let us know.
Okay.
That she's right here. This is called Forest Service Road 301.
Okay.
Are y'all filming a video or something?
Yeah, we're just doing a video.
What kind of podcast y'all do? Oh, you are?
Yeah. You want to come say hi?
What is it?
Called The Magical Journey.
Magical Journey. What's
Yeah.
the magical journey about?
All kinds of different things in life.
More adventurous.
Yes, adventures, all kinds of things that goes on in life.
Say hi. But I gotta go help the other officers out. Y'all take care.
Thank you. So they're
It's
looking
amazing.
for a lady in a silver truck. They said she should not be driving and she's missing. And that's what he stopped to ask me. So they're out here looking for a missing person that could be driving a silver pickup truck. And we're to call 911 if we see her. That's what he just said. I don't know if you were able to hear him, but that's what he just told us.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And see, this is one of the things that's very interesting too, is like people get drawn into this area.
Mm-hmm.
It's like one of the things that has been told to me more than once, not necessarily by physical entities before, but is that people get drawn into this area.
Yeah. We have found clothes right off the trail, right over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just sitting there.
Yeah. And so I mean, when people say the LBL is no joke, that's what they're kind of talking about.
And
so let me.
What just happened? Missing person.
Right. Right. So you sent some photos. I'm going to try to do this. This is kind of a first for me, so I'm trying to play advocate here and see about some of these. Let's see. I'm gonna pull up because you sent some photos of first of all some prints that you found. Let's see. Okay, so what are we looking at here?
Okay, that was the print that I found in October of 24 down at Boswell Landing. And if you look up towards the top of that, where my foot is sitting, you can see the impression of toes. It was very deep, and it was as big, if not a little longer than my foot. But you can see the impression of toes up there at the top. It was really deep.
Wow. And that's a wide, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's really wide and long. Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's very possible that, yeah, I kind of feel like maybe that was, that's interesting. Wow. Let's see.
You see how dark it is behind me?
Right. And it's just going to get more so. Okay. So this here, what are we looking at here?
Now, this is not in the LBL. This is a different area that me and my daughter and my husband, we like to go to investigate. It's in central Kentucky, near Lawrenceburg, Kentucky, in Anderson County. And it's a wildlife area. It's very well known for Bigfoot sightings through the years. And I believe Small Town Monsters has done a documentary or two on this particular area for the Bigfoot sightings. So this is close to us and very close to where my husband grew up by the Kentucky River. So we go down here to investigate. We have gotten some really good pictures and stuff from down in here. But that, can I know for sure what that is? No, but it looked like a little glowing green figure in the distance standing in the tree line.
Wait a minute. Glowing green.
It's right there in the middle, right above it. Kind of, to me, looks like it has like a little bit of a green glow to it, and it kind of looks like a person standing there.
Oh.
It's right above where I put a figure.
Right. Oh, wow. I don't know if you guys can tell that I wish there was some way to be able to blow this up a little better. Um, right above the
It
letter
just kind
G.
of stood out to me.
So you guys can actually see it. Yeah. It's very interesting that this thing is glowing green. That's in itself is kind of an interesting experience. Wow. I'm telling you guys, some of the things that these folks are catching on film is, I mean, how can you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't know
just,
what it is, but it just stood out to me when I was going back through my pictures, and I was like, that's a little odd looking right there. I think I'll mark that one.
I mean, a little bit, yeah. So, and then we have
Yeah,
this.
my daughter took that picture, and if you look in the middle of those trees, you will
Mhm.
see a figure.
That is clear. That is
Yeah.
super clear.
Yes, she did nothing to that picture. That's what that looked like that night. And we went back during the day, and I didn't have those pictures on my phone to send you, but we went back there during the day, and my daughter walked down there to the tree that's the farthest to the right in that picture that's
Mhm.
kind of leaning, and she was teeny tiny up next to that tree. That thing had to have been over 12 feet tall, whatever it is. But yeah, you can see,
Wow.
I can see legs on that. It looks like its
Mhm.
arms are outstretched.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
it was huge, whatever that was, and she caught it. I had taken a picture 2 minutes, I think it was after. It was either 2 minutes before she took this picture or 2 minutes after, because we looked at the timestamps on it. My pictures were clear. There wasn't anything in it. 2 minutes later, she took that picture, and that's what she caught. We didn't see it with our own eyes while we were taking the pictures, but I can tell you that we had left a particular area and we were driving down the road. We heard coyotes. So we stopped and started taking pictures. And that was what came out in the pictures. And then in one of mine, I had a lot of light anomalies that showed up. And we stopped because we heard the coyotes.
Mm. Wow. I mean, these are not your typical pictures.
I know that one blew my mind when my daughter showed me that one. She's like, "Mom, what is this?" I was like, "I don't know what that is, but it's there." It showed
Mhm.
itself. And that's the light anomalies. If you can see, there's about 4 of them, and that's
Mhm.
where the river is. It's a little river with a tree line right on the banks, and I see 4 light anomalies in that picture.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm seeing them too.
And I
That's
see those every time I go down there.
right. Obviously, Justin White saw them too, because it's definitely a while. Um, so that is one of the things that's very interesting is like there's I've talked to people before who've all agreed that like Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia,
Mhm.
Tennessee, Alabama, high strangeness all through these areas. A lot
Yeah,
of similar things being reported. Uh,
yeah.
mm, maybe. Um,
Yeah, it could be that our family has been tagged because I am Rh negative bloodline. I have wondered about that myself. So,
how did I know you were going to say that? So here is one that's rather interesting too. What is this?
this is just behind me. Um, I don't know what it is. I guess you could call it a glyph. That's how I
Mhm,
refer to it. But because of the way I walk, where I was injured in a head-on collision years ago, I look down at the ground every step I take. Just because I don't have full mobility in my knees and my right ankle. So I look at the ground. And this was sitting off to the side as we were walking down to the bunkers. And I was like, what is that? and it was just sitting there. And this was in an area that was off the path a little bit, off the main path to the bunkers back here. So it wasn't like it was sitting right out where so many people walk to go straight down to the bunkers. This was off a little bit. You had to go a different direction to find that. And when I saw it, I was like, I'm just going to get a picture of that. I did try to go back and find that earlier, but they've had so much rain down here, like the flooding that we just recently had. They had 16 inches of rain down here in LBL. So you could tell that the water has washed down through here, and it probably washed it away because I couldn't find it anymore.
Wow. Yeah, that's for some
I don't know
reason
what it means.
it looks familiar for some reason. That's why I keep looking and I'm like, what? I know there's something about that. Sooner or later I'll think of it. But it does look very familiar. I want to see where is. Okay. No.
Yeah, that one, I wish I'd sent you one that you could blow up, that I had more blown up than that. Because we had a friend with us that night, and he kept saying, I'm seeing a black figure over there in the tree line moving. So when he said that, I just went over there and started taking pictures. And you can see a shadow figure standing there. And over to the right, you can see a face peeking from behind those branches. Now, if you go to my Cryptid Kentucky channel, I do have a short about that, and I think it's titled, I can't remember how I titled that one, but it's a short, but I also have a video on that as well, to where you can see it blown up. And you see it right there, a face along with that shadow figure, side by side. So he was seeing something, and that's, I think, what it was. And that is in the Anderson County area. That's not LBL. That's the Anderson County spot.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one of the photos that you sent, I'm extremely curious about, because I didn't get a chance to really thoroughly look at the emails, but this one, I'm sure there's a story behind this.
Oh, yeah. That is my car from 1995. And my family, I was in the passenger seat. I was not buckled. My husband was driving. Both of my daughters were in the back. We had been down to Harrington Lake and was looking at lake lots, because at that time our dream was to build a little log cabin on the lake. And so we went down to be sure that the lot we had picked out was exactly what we wanted. And on the way home, someone completely came over the yellow line and hit us head on doing 60. They never hit their brakes. There were no emergency lanes, and there were cars behind the person that was driving. So we had nowhere to go, and she slammed into us. And my oldest daughter was 6 years old at the time. Immediately after that happened, I was awake. I remember the smell of burning rubber, antifreeze. The car was popping, and I can remember hearing my kids cry, and I knew they were alive because I could hear them crying. My husband reached over and tried to get my seat back, and the dash had come in so far that he couldn't. The dash came in so far that the radio cut his stomach, and the steering wheel bent where he was holding on to it. When the paramedics got to us, they told my husband I had 3 minutes to live because I was bleeding out. And they called in a air vac, but they only had one available at the time. And the person that hit us, her husband had, try not to be too graphic, but he had kind of gone through up into the windshield and he had a lot of head trauma. So they chose to take him on the medevac and I was to go by ambulance. And they had to bring in jaws of life, cut through the car. They had to take the jaws of life they used for 30 minutes trying to get me out of there. Then they took a log and chain, tied it around the dash, and pulled the car up off of me to get me out. And when they pulled me out, my daughter, who was 6 years old, she witnessed this. And later on, she would tell me, Mom, when they took you out of the car, you were all bloody and your legs were going the wrong way. And she was so terrified by that sight, she refused to come to the hospital to see me because she thought that's what she was going to see again. And she had nightmares for a long time after that. But I was in the ambulance, and I can remember this. When you're in a car accident, especially a severe one, they will put you on a backboard and you're flat, and it's to stabilize you. They will also put you in a neck brace to stabilize your neck. They had done that with me. I was strapped down to that board. But while I was in that ambulance, at some point, I rose up and I watched the paramedics take a curved pair of scissors and start cutting my shoes and my socks and pants off of me. And they took my wedding rings off. And I thought, why are they doing that? Everything's okay. And then I was at the top looking down on myself, watching these two paramedics just feverishly work on me because they were trying to save my life. But I was watching that from above. I was perfectly at peace. I had no worries whatsoever. I was even like kind of curious as to why they were so worried because everything was just fine. That's the way I felt. I knew myself. I can say that. I didn't see a white light or any family members at that point. I just don't think it was my appointed time. We all have an appointed time, and I don't think that was my time yet. And then the next moment, after watching them for a little bit, it was like I was slammed back on that body board, and I could feel the ambulance rocking back and forth and hearing the siren. I had a 10-hour emergency surgery. I was at UK in Lexington for a month. I had 3 ankle surgeries during that time because it had crushed me from the waist down. Multiple breaks in my pelvic. My left femur was crushed. 3 plates and over 30 screws to fix it. My other knee was crushed and my ankle was crushed to cornflakes. And they had to take part of the bone out of my hip to rebuild my ankle. And I did not walk for a year. I was totally, completely bedridden for 6 months. When I left UK after a month, it was on a stretcher in an ambulance to go home because I couldn't move. But eventually I walked. Well, number one, I lived. And I walked and I raised my kids, and now I'm out here in the woods.
Chasing the wood booger. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this into the story, and especially like kind of the highlight of the story, is one of the things you said at one point tonight is, I don't believe in coincidence.
Right. I don't.
So for our viewers, what is one of the things that you feel is significant about that story in relation to what you're doing now?
I think everything is connected. I feel whether it's paranormal, the way we live our lives, what might be in the shadows, it's all part of us. It's all connected, in my opinion, now that I've been able to live and do more things with my life and research more and have a better understanding. And I think I wish more people were open to understanding what is considered supernatural and paranormal. And I think it's amping up. I think there's more. I think the veil's thinning. I think these window areas, which I think LBL is one of them, are showing more things. I think more things are happening. More people are seeing things. But I wish more people were open to understanding that
Right.
supernatural and paranormal.
Absolutely, 100%. Um, wow. I just, I feel very honored tonight, to be honest with you, because I'm very humbled because I just think you're an amazing person with an
Thank
amazing
you.
story. Um, Unfortunately, I think that the women do not get as much of acknowledgement as you guys should have for
Yeah.
being boots on the ground. You know, Jessie Doyle obviously is
Yeah.
a very outspoken. She's done a lot to bring the focus on, um, back to the women.
Yeah.
But I think,
She gets out there now. I wish I could get back in there like she does. I don't have the legs for it to get as deep in the woods, but if I did, I would get out there just as deep as she gets. But I think it's awesome. I love their investigating.
and the thing of it is, though, Anna, is your contribution is not minor; it's huge.
Thank
So,
you.
what you do in the context of what you can do is very important. So that's one of the reasons why people are drawn to you. One of the many reasons is
Yeah.
because there's you're doing a huge contribution to our understanding of what's happening, what's going on, what we what we're talking about. Without some of you guys there, um, because the female perspective is very important here.
Yeah.
For one thing, you guys are observant as crap. Oh my gosh. Like, guys get all carried away with other things sometimes and get distracted real easily. A woman's focus, she's going to be like in the moment, no
Yeah.
distractions. It's like, I'm a mom. I can do this. I know all the tricks. So I think that's an important part of it. I think there's an important aspect to to us acknowledging the women who are out there doing this and really appreciating that.
Yeah.
Um, so you guys are a huge part of this community and the importance. Are you going to? You're keeping a journal right now. Are you at some point planning on writing a book?
Yeah, right now I'm actually in the process of writing a book about the
Yes.
paranormal experiences that happened
Yes.
from the time I was a little girl. I actually just interviewed my 85-year-old mother last week so that I could get more details about what was going on with her and my biological dad before he passed away, because they were deep into dabbling. I don't want to say they even dabbled. They were really into the paranormal and, in my opinion, opening doors that couldn't be shut.
Mm.
Yeah. I do have a short story on Amazon. It's called The Promise, and it's my pen name of AJ Caywood. And that story is about 98% true. There's very few details in that that I changed. And one of them was I
Mm. As the night progresses, the signal is getting a little weaker there,
uh-huh, uh-huh.
but we
Yeah.
expect that.
Yeah.
Now, guys, notice how dark it has gotten behind
Mhm.
her.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a big deal.
And my back is facing the supposed Massacre site back there. And it's so dark. I mean, look at
Mhm.
my hand just disappears in the darkness of
That's
LBL.
just creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so as we're actually a little bit past the hour mark here. I want to, and I could go on for hours with you. This like the insight that I'm getting tonight is overwhelming almost. It's great. Um, give us some final words here, some food for thought on your experiences at this point in life.
Right now, I feel like more things are happening. We're getting more uh stuff is coming out. Stuff is showing itself more. I think it wants to be known. But I do think people should be careful when they're out here, whether it be no matter where you're investigating, be careful because there's also the human element that could be back in here as well as the paranormal.
Mhm.
But being out here and searching is searching for truth. And Barton Nunley always talks about we're searching for the truth to share it because so many people are kind of not willing to understand what is going on in our world. And I think with more evidence that comes forth is great. But now we have to deal with AI that is muddying the waters. So that's a tough one. It seems like just when we're reaching that precipice of things coming out, now we've got AI that likes to i- imitate. But
Mhm.
that's what the other side likes to do. It likes to imitate and confuse.
It definitely does. It definitely does. All right. If I could get you to hold on just a moment after
Okay.
I close this out, I'd appreciate it because I want to touch base with you before we call it a night. Um, but I'm going to go on and wrap us up so we can eventually get you guys where you want to be for the night because I know y'all got plans for stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You don't go to the LBL and just hang out online all night. That's for
I know it. I know it. We're going to be investigating.
definitely. All right. I'll be right back with you in just a moment then.
All right.
And thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you,
Amazing.
everyone.
I am literally speechless. Honestly, like I gotta tell you, like I've had some really great guests on who've given some really great stories, some really great information, but um I was not prepared. I really was not prepared to have just my mind completely blown tonight. I know, Pam, you told me, and I appreciate guys, thank Pam for this interview because she was the one who strongly suggested to me to get Anna on tonight. And I gotta tell you, just right on the mark. All right. Um, a couple of things really quickly before I leave tonight. Number one, you guys go check out Mystic Mountain Creations. Their cups, I love mine. I'm absolutely in love with it. And not only do they have great product, but part of the proceeds are going to help with the rebuilding of homes and lives uh, that were devastated by the storms there in the mountains with Helene. So we're grateful for that. We're grateful for having Mike and Jenny as part of our family. Um, go support them. Also, do not forget, I'm going to have some, excuse me, getting all choked up tonight. I'm going to have some supplemental material coming up on the Patreon site. So you guys go check it out. There is a free section. There's a pay section. The pay section is only like, it's less than a cup of Dutch Brothers right now. I spend $7 every time I go to Dutch Brothers just for a cup of coffee. So this is like $5.50. It's one of the best opportunities you have to support. And it's really important for us to be able to, hey, there's, I got one of my first Twitch viewers, guys. I'm excited about that. I'm very excited about that. Check out the replay on this, because there's some really good stuff on this video tonight. But I'm going to thank you guys again for showing up tonight, and definitely humbled by tonight. Always, may your journey always be magical.
I've waited for so long to see when you come back to me. Through the wars and battles that were lost, we're born again, it's you and me. The rest is history.